Howdy folks, welcome back to yet another video that nobody will probably watch, but that's okay. I enjoy doing it anyway. I am back from my big trip that I may have mentioned in the abstract on a couple of videos. I didn't really want to publish it like, hey, I'm going to be out of town these dates, come on over and rob me. Not that you guys would, but you know, there are some unscrupulous people that that are on the YouTube platform, so there you go. Now, you may have known from commentary when I was talking about it that I was taking two bikes with me. And of course, I took the Saber. And I kind of mentioned that when I was doing this fort brace, that if I was up in the mountains, I wanted to tighten up this front end. Sure as hell did, but I'll get to that here in a second. And I also took Concours. Okay, also in this video, after I go over the stuff that I wanted to cover with the bikes and the drama, we're going to do some clips. I'm going to show you some clips of riding with the Innov camera from the Concours, just a couple of them. And then we're going to go through the Maggie Valley Wheels Through Time Museum, and then we'll close the video out at that point. But I thought that was, it's not going to be a very long video.
That's bullshit.
So I figured I'd stick that in the end and you get some enjoyment out of it. So stand by on that and we'll cover the rest of this crap here right now. So let me go over some numbers with you first. I have a 7x12 enclosed trailer that has a dry weight of about 1,250 pounds according to the website. I've never weighed it, but I don't know. It has a gross vehicle weight rating of 2,990 pounds. They do that because even though it has a 3,500 pound axle, they rate it just under 3,000 pounds, so it doesn't require trailer brakes because it is a single axle trailer. My trailer has trailer brakes. I put them on about 5 minutes after I bought the thing like 6 years ago with a kit from a local trailer place. So it has electric drum trailer brakes and they work fantastically, and I'm really glad that I did that upgrade. So the point being here is how much the gross vehicle weight was as opposed to the GVWR, the rating. So I figure I'm running about 2,600 to 2,700 pounds total weight. That's this bike, that bike, toolboxes stuffed in there, things like that. And so that's where we get that number from. As far as fuel mileage goes, attached to the Ram, on the way up to Macon, which was my layover point for day one, if you will, I got about 12.6 miles per gallon because it's mostly flat, of course. And then the second day from Macon up to Maggie Valley, which was stop number one, we spent 4 days in Maggie Valley first. I only got about 10.2 because a cold front had come through and I was in a dead headwind the entire way. On the way back, my mileage varied from between 11.6 to 10.1, around there. So it averaged out, let's say 10.5. So not terrible, considering what I was pulling behind me. I had no problems with the truck and I had no problems with the trailer, but I certainly did have some mechanical problems. So let me get you set up in the stand now because my arm's getting tired, and I will kind of go over those with you. So the first major problem we had was actually with the Concours that I had. And here's what happened. I loaded the thing in the trailer and put it in its chock. There's two chocks in the trailer that are in a staggered formation, one up a little further than the other, for side-to-side clearance. It originally was set up for two concourses because me and a buddy of mine trailered up to a rally in 2019 with his truck and my trailer with two concourses in it. And so I have the chock set up for that. So I knew that if I put them in the exact same position, and of course my trailer floor is marked for all that shit, I would be fine with the Concours in the left forward position and the Saber in the right rearward. So that did work out no problem. Took the bags off the Concours to give me a little bit more space, and no big deal whatsoever. Except after I loaded it into the chock. And I started pulling this thing down with the straps. I didn't crush the front end down at all. In fact, I don't even attach to the front end. I attach to the crash bars just lightly, but the majority of the stability for the bike is actually right to the subframe where it meets the frame. And I pull it hard down, push down the seat here a little bit and get a little rear suspension springage up against the straps. And it holds it back and forth, no problem. And of course the chock is very stable too. The ones in the front on the crash bars really just hold it in. They're angled slightly forward, whereas the ones on the subframe are more straight down. I didn't pull it down maybe a ½ inch as far as the front fork compression goes. And I happened to notice that the right front fork was pissing 10W fork oil so bad that it was running down the fork and dripping down on one of the bosses for the radial mounts. You know, these are radial brakes on this thing, for the right caliper. And I'm like, what the hell?
What the hell?
So right then and there, I pretty much started my occurrences of mini meltdowns, because I'm like, I didn't have, this was like a day before I left. I didn't have any time to order some seals in and do a seal kit or anything like that. So I kind of looked at it and said, there's really nothing I can do. Either I take the bike or I don't. And I want to take the bike because, you know, the Saber's 41 years old. I'm not going to ride it the entire time up there. So I said, the worst case scenario is I'll do what I did a couple of years ago when I actually rode this up, and one of my riding buddies were up some overlook. I forgot where we were. And he's like, hey, Tom, your right front fork is leaking. Same exact fork. And I'm like, what? Well, that was the original seals. These seals are like 2.5 years old. I have videos on putting these seals in. OEM Kawasaki seals. And it's pissing oil out. I can't figure it out. And again, I was literally pushed down a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch as far as compression goes. Now, when it bounces down the road, it's doing this, of course, but it's its normal operation for that. So I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I ended up just taking it and saying, screw it. But of course, now my brain's turning, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Anyway, I'll go over that part of it here in a little bit, because we want to segue over to the Saber now and kind of go over the situation on that one. Okay, so like 3 or 4 days before I left, maybe 5, before I even put this on permanently, as far as putting it on, I was only mocking it up after I finished it, make sure it was okay. This right, it's the same one. The right front fork was leaking oil. Now, in these forks, I have ATF, because that's what the service manual says, and I didn't have any 10W left over, and I wasn't about to run down to a dealer and spend 18 bucks a quart on some 10W when I got ATF in stock. I didn't notice it before I put this on, because it would leak right out the seal here, the dust seal, and then run down here. And I didn't see it until I put this on, and then I could see it dripping back here, and I'm like, what the hell? So first I thought that this was doing it, like it was distorting this. But I'm like, there's no way. I mean, this thing is like, just has a little circumferential pressure on it, and then it bottoms out on the clamps here. That's kind of how I designed it. And I'm like, there's no way that's doing that. So I took it off anyway, and then kind of bounced the forks up and down, and it would be pushing some fluid out. And I'm like, what is going on with this? Well, this again was like 4 or 5 days. So I had it up on the lift here. I pulled both forks off, and on this one, this right side one, back you up a little bit. This right side one, I did take off, tear down completely, clean it all out with brake clean, and I could not find any problem with the seal. None whatsoever. There wasn't any dirt, grime, anything in there, nothing. And I'm like, I don't understand this. Now, I think I had the fork oil, or ATF oil in this case, level a little bit high, but not much based upon what I measured taken out. Doing the other fork the same way without disassembling it, I'll actually let it sit upside down over a pan overnight to drain out, with, of course, the cap and the spring out and so forth. And then the next day, I put this one back together, refilled them both, but I went and got some different ATF. I got Type F ATF, which is kind of a, well, it's for Ford, but it is also listed as a general purpose hydraulic fluid. This fluid I was using before was a synthetic, and probably not a good idea, because, you know, synthetic can find its way out of all sorts of crevices. So I put that in, and it seemed to be okay, but then it didn't leak out like drain out. But what I noticed was, when it would go down the road and, you know, the suspension would compress and contract and so forth, it was actually drawing ATF up on the tube here. You could see it. And I'm like, why is it doing that with new seals in there? OEM Honda seals. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I essentially got 2 bikes technically with a leaking fork. The left fork wasn't doing it, except it was dragging up a little bit, you know, but not like this one was. Why is it the right side, for crying out loud? So here I am. I'm on the way up there with these 2 bikes in the trailer that I'm thinking, am I going to be able to use these things, or is this a total freaking waste of time? Of course, I had a mini meltdown, and you know, not crying or nothing like that, but I was upset. My nerves are shot anyway, you know, from 35 years in public safety. My nerves are shot anyway, so, you know, you can only do so much with medications. Called a buddy of mine who was already up there. He's one of our riding buddies. And he said, you can try Waynesville Cycle Center, because we were near Waynesville. You know, we were going to Maggie Valley, that phase of the trip. I did call them, and they said that they would be willing to help me out, but they don't have any seals in stock for a Concours. And I said, well, what if I had them overnighted, like to me in Maggie Valley? Could I bring it over and have you guys do it? And at first they kind of hemmed and hawed about that, but then they said that they would. So I said, all right, I'm going to look into that. But I couldn't do anything until I got up to Maggie Valley and get on my phone and contact Partzilla or call Partzilla. Tried to relax as much as possible. Hit my layover, and I'm looking at both bikes in the back of the trailer. This one's got a wet fork tube. That one's literally dripping, you know, fork oil out of it still on the right side. And I'm just like, what the hell? Day 2, drove up, got to Maggie Valley on time. There was a whole bunch of challenges and drama in regards to the property that we had booked. This place had a super steep driveway, about a 40 to 45 degree incline, with a super sharp right turn coming in off the road. And at the top, I had to turn my truck and trailer around in this area. It took about 18 three-point turns to do it, but I finally got it done. Once we got up there and got everything offloaded, took a look at this first. I'm going to go ahead and just do something aggressive. So I popped the dust caps off. And I took one of my socks. That's actually an old sock. I found a couple old socks when I was packing. And I said, I'll throw these in my toolbox, you know, as rags, even though I had, you know, microfibers with me. I cut them up with a pair of scissors into, like, you know, rolls, kind of like packing. Stuffed it in and banged the freaking dust seals back down and said, screw it, we're going to run it. And it was perfect. Did not leak, weep, any problem whatsoever with those stuffed in there. In fact, they're still in there right now. So I'll bring the camera up close. We'll pop one of these caps off and let's take a look at it, because I haven't done it yet. I'm gonna use some gloves here. I got a doctor's, well, not really a doctor's appointment. I gotta go for an echo cardiogram, my annual echo. Come on, you prick. Here this morning, I don't want to get all dirty. Yeah, I mean, you see the towel inside here, or not towel, but the sock. And there's like nothing on it. There's nothing on it. It stinks though.
That smells like ass.
I don't know why. There's nothing on it. What the hell? Again, what the hell? This basically self-healed. It healed itself. But it gets better. Okay, so here's the Concours right side. And you can see my sock condom there down the fork tube, which is exactly what I did a couple of years ago when it leaked while I was on the trip. This one's drier than a popcorn fart. But I popped that dust seal off, even though they're inverteds, and I shoved some damn packing up in that one too. But I bet you if I pull that damn thing down and check that packing, it is going to be dry just like the one on the Saber, because this sumbitch self-healed also. I can't understand it and I can't explain it. I'm going to go do that because it's kind of tight in here. I got this Chinese piece of crap scooter in the way. I'll go ahead and pull that down and get that packing out of there, and I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. Okay, well this one is a little bit wet. Just slightly though. And it could be water, to be honest with you. See a little looking like rust? Because it rained while we were up there and riding. And it does have a slight fork oil smell to it. It smells like ass as well. Otherwise it's not dripping, and the sock around the tube, the lower fork tube, or the chrome bar if you will, is not wet at all, you know, from any fork oil. You can always tell, because like I said, I've done this before. I'm familiar with what it looks like. Nothing. It's self-healed as well. It healed itself. So both this one and this one just decided to heal itself. Now, I can't understand this. I don't really understand it at all. Especially this. This one completely baffled me, because it just stopped leaking. There's no way that this little bit stuffed up inside and inverted is going to put enough pressure on the lip of that seal to maybe make it seal on the chrome bar, on the tube itself very well, or any more. No way. I put it up there just kind of like frustrated to go, I don't know what else to do. It just stopped. And I never saw another drop coming out of this thing. Absolutely zero. I can't explain it. So yeah, I'm baffled by this whole thing. But this is what I'm going to do. I have ordered not 2, but 4 new oil seals for this thing. And I'm going to double stack them. No, I'm kidding. I am going to always have 2 on hand. The dust seals, I ordered 2 of them. Don't really need any more. These are fairly new. As far as this goes, I'm going to not replace the seals because I forgot to order them, because they're fairly new. I am going to tear these apart. I have an idea as to what's causing this problem. These fork tubes, these chrome bars, they do have some vertical scratches in them. I can't even feel them without gloves on, but they're probably enough of a surface anomaly to be allowing some of that fluid to come up through it. Now, I wanted to explain what I do with this fork oil when it's ATF, because ATF, some people might say, well, it's too thin. The general consensus is that garden variety ATF is about 7.5 weight. 10 weight would be what I would put in something like this. Okay, I don't have the container of the other stuff that I mixed with this Type F, but what it is Lucas oil treatment. You know, that really thick syrupy kind of shit. And I mix it with the ATF in a ratio of 1/3 of the Lucas to 2/3 of the ATF. And it brings me to the consistency I want. There's actually a little bit left in here. I hadn't finally cleaned up, you know, since I was running short on time from before I left. But if I take this and maybe find something to pour it into, you get an idea. Here we go. So this is essentially the consistency of it when it comes out, you know, with the Lucas in it. Now this has been sitting out for a while, so who knows if it's got some moisture in it or something. And if you do kind of a dip test with like a little stick on some 10W fork oil, the actual stuff, and this stuff, it kind of drips about the same. So if anything, this may be about 12W when it's a little thicker. And that's what I got in here. And that helped to solve it, and I was really careful on the fork oil level. But this stuff, automatic transmission fluid, Type F, it says Type F fluids are recommended for Ford type and something or other spec. And also says many foreign vehicles, but also down here, other applications include air compressor, general purpose hydraulics, and power steering systems. So I think it's a good oil for this. That's what the manual says. And I didn't have any 10W in stock. I probably would have used it. So that's what I did on this to kind of thicken the oil up a little bit and made sure that the level was good. It still would, again, track up the tubes, the chrome bar. And that's what that packing was for, which worked perfect. Something you can do. There's plenty of room in there. You see, when these forks were made, the big space in here is actually for this piece of foam. I've only seen it one time taking apart a virgin set of forks on a Honda. I don't really remember what it was. And something else, some sort of packing, I forgot what it was. Service manual on 83 to 84 is remove the foam, remove that thing, and discard. And the 85 doesn't have that. It says just remove the seals because they eliminated it. So I thought to myself, why couldn't I just put something like that back in? That's kind of where I got the idea from. It worked fine. Now as far as the fork brace goes, this fork brace performed fantastically. Now if I could get this thing to cooperate. As far as this goes, this thing worked great. It really solidified this front end where I had some fantastic feedback on doing these twisty roads up there. I can keep up with that, our leader, our fearless leader, who's a very fast rider. No problem on this, Concours as well. But this in particular, I was right up his butt basically. And a couple of times I'm on the headset. He's like, you want to go by? I said, yes. Now he's on a wing, he's on a big gold wing, but he's very fast on that gold wing on these roads. And very smooth. Remember, smooth is fast. And I was just cranking on this thing. Even with these brick stones, Battle Axe BT46s, front and rear. And I had no problem with it wanting to slide out or anything. I mean, it was just fantastic on the back roads and the twisties and stuff, and I had a really good time. Until the next mechanical drama occurred, and since we're looking right at it right now, we'll cover that. So we're going down some twisty roads. You're up in the mountains and you're on those twisty roads. You ain't using your back brake. If you do, you're gonna crash. You're using front brake. It plants your front end, trail braking, you know, apex braking, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm heavily on the front brake on this, and certainly on the Concours too. And one time I go to hit the front brake and it only partially worked, and it went almost all the way back to the bar. And I went, what the hell? A lot of what's a hell's in here. And so I said to him on the comms, hey, I think I'm losing my front brake. And of course he's like, ding, 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 ding. He said, well, then all of a sudden I go, oh, it's back. I must have just, maybe it's low on fluid and leaning it over. It got a little air bubble in there or something. I don't know. Got back to our lodging and took a look at it. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but there's brake fluid down on the left caliper, down the brake line. I thought it was the caliper itself. I said, the banjo's leaking up in here. So I got my tools out and I started tightening it, and it was loose. This one was really loose, this right banjo. I'll bring you up close here in a second. This one was just slightly loose, and it really wasn't leaking here anyway. Leaking over on this left side. Did I say right? This left side. Let me bring you over up close and show you. Okay, so I tightened this up. Tighten that one up too. Check the banjo at the master cylinder. That was fine. Check the banjo down at the caliper. Down there. That was fine. It was just up here. And again, it was running down the brake line and dripping off the bottom of the caliper. So I'm like, well, what the hell? I don't get this either. So I just tightened it up. And then the next morning I come out and I saw some brake fluid kind of on the ground underneath. I said, well, that's kind of probably residual. I didn't clean off all the way. And I checked it, and the damn thing was loose again, slightly loose. And I go, what is going on with this thing? All I did from the first time yeah, sorry about that. My buddy with the shop down the road, I've been doing a lot of machining for him, and he's got something else he needs me to do. Yeah, so that would be Tuesday, because the first day I took it out was Monday, and then Tuesday I took it out again. So this is Tuesday morning last week, and then we just took it out, and I'm riding it around, and I go, I don't understand what's going on with this, because now I have no front brake at all. And I'm on the comms going, no front brake, no front brake. So we were in Brevard, North Carolina at that time, and we stopped at a Napa auto parts store, and these guys were absolutely fantastic. Now I'll show you the first thing we found. First thing, my buddy actually figured this out. I hadn't thought of it. He said, is it possible that this banjo bolt is too long and is bottoming out in the threads? And I said, I don't think so. I would have noticed that when I put that in. But sure as hell it was. So I took this banjo out, and the guys let me use a grinder in the back of this old Napa auto parts store, and I ground that down a little bit and wire wheeled the burrs off of it to get it shorter. But it still didn't solve the problem, 100%. It still, as soon as I started moving it or something, you know, when you compress the suspension basically, it would start leaking again. We could not figure this out. It took half an hour for us to figure this out. Now what it was ultimately, see if I can get you in here closer. I'm going to go commando with you here and go freehand. If you notice, I have this whole distribution block lowered. I had to do it because with these aftermarket brake lines, the way it was set up before and the way now, if you push it up into its normal location, because of just the angles everything is mounted, it smashes the brake line against the fork tube on the right side. And it kind of puts a lot of stress on this banjo. You can get the hose on, but the hose is kinked over or kinked in, something like that. So I dropped it down with this block here, this much. And I didn't think it would be any problem. Hell, I've ridden this bike quite a bit down here. But it's down here, not up in the mountains when you're on freaking brakes and shit really hard. Now, who knew that this suspension travel is huge?
Huge.
This thing has got a mile of suspension travel.
Enormous.
And what was happening was, because I don't have any air in these front forks, I don't really think that works very well anyway. I need to put stiffer springs in. When I essentially crammed the brakes down, this particular banjo was angled down a little bit more, because this hose, even though it's an 18-inch, is actually a little too short. I didn't realize that, because it's pretty stretched out right now with this angled up. So I had it angled down, you know, so it isn't so stretched out. So from that action of this thing going down, and because this thing was angled down a little bit more, when he pushed it down with the front brake on, and I'm standing right in front of it, I see the thing come down, and this banjo, angled down a little bit more, smacks right against this, the original fork brace. And because of that particular rotational forces, it loosens this thing up. It pushes it up, so it's turning it counterclockwise, and it loosens this sumbitch. And that's what was happening, because there's no way that the stress of the cable flexing upwards from compression of the front suspension is going to loosen that. And if it was tight, if it was stretching, kind of like it is right now, it would be tightening it. So that's what was happening. So I got some new banjos from them that were 3/8. I can only do the one inside one because it wouldn't fit outside of it. I hate these aluminum ones that are on here. I got some good copper ones. And then some brake fluid. Just angled this up, took it out of the place where the hose, you know, snaps in, and, you know, to keep it contained. Angled it up really good. I got gas, I'm sorry. And then tightened the shit out of it, and it was fine. And then I rode it one more time, which was on that Thursday. So I took the Concours out Wednesday, because at this point I'm like, I don't even know if I want to trust this thing. So we took Concours out and had a good time on that Wednesday. And on Thursday we took this one out again. The bike performed flawlessly. And I have since fixed all this. I've put the block back up where it belongs. It bolts to the bottom of this bracket that extends up in here that the horns and everything mounts to, and all the electrical mounts to it as well. The problem was up in here where it was going past that bracket and the bottom of the triple tree. So I ground a crap load out inside that bracket just to give it clearance, and put a slightly different angle banjo on the end of that comes down from the master cylinder. I ordered all this stuff and got it in the other day. And I also have 20-inch lines on instead of the 18s, but it's not going to hit anyway onto the top of that original fork brace, because I'm back in its original position the way it's designed. Sans a little bit of paint touch up, this thing's pretty much good, except I have not done anything with any leakage issues, because what I'm going to end up doing eventually is taking these all to bits again, take the chrome bar, you know, this part of it out, put them in the lathe and polish the ginormous crap out of them, and then put them back in. Hopefully that'll take care of it, you know, because those surface anomalies are probably the causation. But as far as this bullshit goes, I finally got all this resolved the other day, and so we're ready to move on. As far as mechanical shit goes, the only other thing I had was the one of my brackets for my windshield. You know, you see that clamshell type thing on the right side? Well, one of them loosened up and fell. Actually, both of them fell off. But the one with the bolt was hung up in here. I found it at a gas station, pulled into a gas station and said, hey, I gotta stop for a second. We originally just duct taped it up. The gas station had this cheap, expensive duct tape in there. I just bought a little roll of it, and then I did that later on with some wire ties, cable ties. And I have 2 more of the damn things in a kit over there, but I didn't have it with me. You know, I didn't think I was going to need that, and I don't know why it loosened up. That's the only other thing. Otherwise, this sumbitch ran great, and it ran perfect. It just was absolutely fantastic to ride. I had no problems with the final drive. I did check it once in a while. It got hot. It got really hot. But I also checked the Concourses when I was out on that. That sumbitch just got it just as hot as this one. So I said I was probably misled by my own assumptions that these things should run a little cooler than they do. That sumbitch over there was so hot you couldn't touch it, and so was this one. So I figured it was probably okay. It ain't leaking. It didn't make any noise. So I'm gonna call this one a win. This is all good. In case anybody is interested in a follow-up on that, well, there you go. Okay, so before we get to the clips that I'm going to show you, I just want to go over the plan. The repair plan is going to be get the Concours up on the lift when I can. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to do this because allegedly I got a CB750 coming in, 1971, and I got to get that up here. I'm not going to disassemble the left front fork because there's nothing wrong with it, but we are going to tear down that right front fork. May film a little of that and see what we can see. My theory is that got some junk up in there. This thing sits a lot. The only thing I did was wash it. Hey buddy, what's up buddy? My buddy missed me and I missed my buddy too. I missed him so much. Yes I did. So where was I? Yeah, I washed it before I put it in the trailer a day or two before. But otherwise, the thing sits around here pretty much, and I back it out once in a while and start it because, you know, I'm riding the sidecar rig rather, or this thing, or working on something. Figuring that some crud got drug up in past that dust seal, that outside seal part, and maybe got stuck in, I don't know, between, there's two lips on that seal. There's one inside of it that is angled toward the pressure, so pressure would actually make it squeeze in more. And they both have garter springs on them. The inside seal and the inside lip rather, and the outside lip both have garter springs. The other thing I was thinking of is because it sat so long, maybe the seal stuck to the chrome bar when I moved it. It twisted the lip or something. I don't know. Maybe that lower one, the garter spring, came off. I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. So we're going to tear that right side apart and we are going to investigate what the problem is, and we're going to change the seal in that right one only because these are only 2.5 years old. I'm not going to pull the left one apart if it's not problematic. We'll keep the old dust seal we take off. We'll throw the old oil seal away most likely, but we'll keep the dust seal because there's nothing wrong with it. This was an absolute, it's just so much fun to ride up in the mountains. I mean, it was really, really strong. No problems. Third, fourth gear, even on the hill, the curvy hills, it'll pull it right through just like this guy does. This pretty much stays in fourth all the time, fourth and fifth actually. And this one, third and fourth basically. It was great. So, okay, let's go and get to the clips and shit. You know what I'm dealing with this stuff and what happened. It was a great trip overall, but some stress, self-induced of course. This is self-induced because I did all this, so it's my fault. I got nobody else to blame. But that is still a mystery that I'm aiming to solve, but we'll figure it out later. Let's get to the clips, and then we'll see you on the next video. Catch you later.
Better mixed off.
Get that beat. I'd like to give a little commentary on this particular outfit right here. It's a 1917 U.S. Army issue Harley Davidson. It is attached to a trailer, which I'll go into here briefly in a sec. This particular motorcycle has some Hollywood notoriety. It was a Hollywood prop bike. It was utilized in the movie The Spirit of St. Louis with Jimmy Stewart, as you can see depicted there from that American Motorcycling magazine cover. It's a short scene in the movie when he's flying across the Atlantic Ocean as Lindbergh, and he's having kind of flashbacks or memories of his life. And the motorcycle was painted blue at that time, but obviously at some point it was restored into its original form, but the motorcycle was not attached to the trailer. Now, Steve McQueen owned the motorcycle, and the trailer was, nobody even knew that a trailer was supposed to be attached to it, but there was some funky apparatus. You can kind of see a little bit of it here, and it essentially threw people for a loop, and they just didn't know what it was for. Well, that essentially was the trailer hitch for this thing. It was apparently partly on the bike and partly on the trailer. And once somebody figured out in Hollywood that trailer that they found somewhere in a storage area was probably for this bike, they contacted Dale at Wheels Through Time because they knew that he had bought the bike from Steve McQueen for his collection, and the two were reunited. So it was a pretty cool story. Now, what the trailer was used for is supposed to be an aviary transport trailer for birds like carrier pigeons and things like that during the war. So, for example, somebody would run the birds up to a front line, and then the commanders up there would send messages back to the main command staff, things like that. So that's what it was used for, is used to haul birds. So again, really cool story, and my second favorite motorcycle in the museum. This is a really neat setup here. Not only the 1913 Harley, but this Kelm and Burbach portable steel, essentially motorcycle garage. And there are modern equivalents of that out there, and there have been for many years, but this I think would be the original, so very neat. I think this section is supposed to represent a modification of motorcycles, the chopperization of them, and all the different parts that are harvested from other bikes, fabricated and so forth. And of course the gangs and different things like that. You see the Booze Fighter shirt there. My first impression of it when I walked up was, hey, who took my garage and moved it up to Maggie Valley, North Carolina? My garage pretty much looks just like that. I'm thinking not even avid motorcycle aficionados realize that there was about 100 different motorcycle manufacturers in the teens. And so small and large, between Indian, Harley Davidson, and Pope, for example, this small brand. And of course, other brands too that you'll see through the museum here. But it's just interesting to note that there were so many small manufacturers back then. Lovely.
Think about a flathead side valve. They have this like galloping now.
Yeah.
Galloping now. Not quite that potato chug like the overhead valve has, you know.
This section highlights motorcycle engines and other components being utilized in non-motorcycle applications, industrial equipment, chainsaws, things like that. And you can see there's like this little rail car thing, which is probably used in a mine or something like that. And different manufacturers did this. Harley Davidson was not the only one, or Indian. You can see some outboard motors back there. Chainsaws, as I said, there's other applications too. And a lot of the manufacturers branched out that way, especially during hard times, just to make ends meet. You know, here's a ski-doo or some sort of first jet ski of that I believe was powered by Harley Davidson, and other implements in a ski mobile and so forth. And again, a manufacturer did that to survive. They needed to sell things when times were tough, and so they branched out into different avenues. Very cool display.
1920s. Kills me. Chain drive. That one does.
Anyway, yeah, thank you.
There's a sidecar ad ready for you.
Thor.
What?
Thor, yeah. Thor motorcycle, Thor sidecar.
It's amazing how many companies are in this business
Yeah.
a century ago.
Sure. Sears, look at the Sears one. 12 Sears, 1912 Sears.
Sears sold everything. Shit, you could buy a house. House kit.
Love it. Yeah, it's that Cannonball we were looking at last weekend. I love that Sears though. It's beautiful. 1912.
And now how many do we have? American? 2.
How many of these Fleshers are around? I would say probably this is probably the only one, I
I
bet.
don't know, I mean, as far as like remaining manufacturers.
Yeah.
Harley and
Indian.
Indian via
Right next door.
Yeah.
Right next to it. 1913. Oh, this is a Headstrom Harley. Prototype. Wow. Board track. Some of these board track racers are really engineering marvels. If you take a really close look at the different linkages and the operation of the throttle, which not only opens the throttle and increases the engine RPM, of course, and the horsepower and the speed, but changes the magneto advance as far as the timing goes, and perhaps changes other things as well. I have some shots a little bit later of a looks like a reproduction, but it's a board track racer that's got that kind of convoluted Rube Goldberg linkage setup. And it's just amazing they were able to figure this stuff out and make it work in a racing situation or application. I just found it fascinating, and I just couldn't take my eyes off it. I mean, it was just amazing engineering. And anybody that thinks that sidecar motorcycle racing is a relatively new phenomenon, think again, because here's an old motorcycle. Unfortunately, I didn't capture the year. I'm not really sure. Certainly in the teens or early 20s. And of course, that is set up for sidecar motorcycle racing. And in front here, we have some other racers from the teens. I believe I do get a shot of the year up in here, which is a 1918 Harley Davidson T Racer. These are factory board track racers. I just absolutely love the color on these. Kind of a cross between an avocado green and an army green. And just with the orange or red accents, just fantastic colors. And they were just so classy, these antique bikes of the era. So can't get enough of them, and I hope you're enjoying the video so far. (1903) Empire with an Erie engine.
Little toppers, cute little things. We had a ton of fun with them. Yeah, certainly can have fun. Then we just picked up that 140. So I'm gonna go get this one lunch. I'll be back down in a few minutes. Yeah, that's okay, guys. Very nice. You enjoying?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing it. What are you looking at?
I'm curious how reliable it was.
This is an acetylene fuel gauge off of an acetylene tank that fuels a headlight from an Excelsior motorcycle. I took a close-up of this Presto Light Company Incorporated gauge because it not only reads in pounds, but in atmospheres. Now, how often do you see something like that? Here are some of those linkages I was referring to before. Just absolutely fantastic engineering. I just love it. They go down and do different things, and I don't even understand myself.
They just sold a twin cylinder cycle had reproduction car for 1.3 million. And this one here's got all original. It's owned by the same family.
Okay, so as we close this video out, I'm going to show you my all-time favorite motorcycle I've ever seen ever. And this is a Traub, Traub, and you probably never heard of it because pretty much nobody heard of it until it was found in 1967, hidden in a wall. Now, if you look up online anywhere like Google or something and type in motorcycle in the wall or motorcycle found in a wall, you will find all sorts of articles on this. I'm sure there's probably books written about it. This was a very well engineered prototype motorcycle, way, way ahead of its time for 1917 when it was made. And the story, again, is a mystery. There are stories going around that some 17-year-old stole it, and his father made him go in the military as penalty, and he hid it in a wall so they wouldn't get arrested. That story has been proven false, essentially because this family was German Jewish in the beginning of World War I. It's thought they believe that what happened was the individual who designed it, Mr. Traub, actually hid it in a wall so it wouldn't get confiscated, either for scrap metal for the war effort or for other reasons because they were German descent. But I digress on that. You need to go do your own research because it is an absolutely fantastic story and it's something that you really enjoy reading about. Again, I will put some links in the description. You can look up this fantastic prototype motorcycle, or you can go see it for yourself at Maggie Valley Wheels Through Time Museum.